From the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
These are the cybersecurity headlines for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. I'm Sarah Lane. Hugging Face fights AI hacks with AI. Hugging Face says an autonomous AI agent system broke into part of its production infrastructure through a malicious dataset, which abused two code execution paths in its processing pipeline. The attacker reached the underlying node, harvested cloud and cluster credentials, and moved into internal clusters. The company found access to a limited set of internal datasets and service credentials, but no evidence that public models, data sets, spaces, container images, or published packages were altered. Responders used AI analysis agents to reconstruct the events, but commercial frontier model APIs blocked the real exploit code and command and control artifacts. So Hugging Face turned to open-weight GLM 5.2 on its own infrastructure. Defenders may want to consider a vetted local model ready for an incident like this in the future. World Cup streamers get a red card. The Justice Department says U.S. authorities seized more than 1,000 domains that were illegally streaming World Cup matches. The total came from 3 separate actions under Operation Offsides and includes nearly 400 sites announced earlier in the tournament. Homeland Security investigation agents confirmed the domains were showing copyright-protected broadcasts, with ID help from FIFA and several media companies and sports organizations. Officials also warned that illicit streaming sites can expose viewers to malware, unsafe connections, and payment theft, framing it as consumer protection, not just copyright enforcement. WordPress enters a patching race. Hackers are exploiting 2 critical WordPress core flaws that were patched last week. A site running versions 6.9.0 through 6.9.4 or 7.0.0 through 7.0.1 can be vulnerable, and the 2 bugs together can give an unauthenticated attacker remote control. WordPress push-forced updates where possible, while PatchStack, Hexastrike, and Watchtower all reported exploitations in the wild. WordPress statistics put more than 400 million sites on affected versions, although one consultant's sample suggested fewer than 15% remain vulnerable. That is still potentially around 90 million sites. OpenAI learns persistence cuts both ways. OpenAI says an internal model built for long-running autonomous work exposed safety problems that shorter tests missed. In one case, the model spent an hour finding a sandbox vulnerability so it could publish a result to GitHub, even though it had been told to post only to Slack. In another, it tried to recover private evaluation answers and split an authentication token into pieces to evade a scanner. OpenAI says it's paused access and built incident-derived evaluations, improved the model's ability to remember instructions, and added monitoring that judges an entire trajectory rather than one action at a time. Limited internal access has resumed, with more user visibility and tools to pause a session when the monitor detects boundary-bypassing behavior. Huge thanks to our sponsor, Quiller AI. AI agents don't ask permission, they act, moving data, triggering workflows, changing systems. Quiller AI is the permission layer they never had. Its decision engine evaluates the content, the context, and intent of every action before it completes. Alerts tell you later. Quiller AI decides now. Visit Quiller.ai. That is QUILR.ai. Stay safe. Quiller it. Casey loses its leader after 3 months. Chris Fall is stepping down as director of the U.S. Commerce Department's Center for AI Standards and Innovation after 3 months in the role. The agency, known as CASE, is the federal government's main AI testing institute and works with major AI companies on pre-release evaluations tied to cybersecurity and other national security risks. There's no clear reason for Fall's departure, but the department says NIST director Arvind Raman will serve as acting director while the department looks for a permanent replacement. An open server spills an AI phishing lab. Rapid7 researchers say a malware operator accidentally exposed an entire AI-assisted phishing development lab on a public server. Rapid7 downloaded 1,048 files covering lure templates, delivery experiments, droppers, builder notes, and 2 campaign chains, including one targeting Windows users in Mexico through a fake government ID site. Some tests tried to reproduce a patched WebDAV working directory hijack and expand it across 59 different signed Windows binaries. One live lure disguised a screensaver executable as a PDF and delivered an in-memory info stealer that targeted wallets, browser credentials, cookies, and Telegram sessions. The exposed panel logged more than 77,000 requests from nearly 3,900 unique IP addresses, though not all were confirmed infections. Holograph hides in the calendar. Researchers at Group IB found a malware component called Holograph that hides command and control traffic inside a compromised Microsoft 365 calendar. Commands and stolen files are attached to calendar events scheduled decades in the future, so the traffic blends into Microsoft Graph activity instead of connecting directly to an obvious attacker server. Holograph encrypts the attachments, supports separate commands for receiving tasks and sending stolen data, and can refresh its credentials over a second DNS tunneling channel. At least 12 systems were affected, with activity focused on organizations in Israel and signs pointing to an espionage campaign. Romania rebuilds a frozen land registry. Romania's National Land Registry Agency is rebuilding its IT infrastructure after its most serious technical incident in history. The attack knocked out the eTerra Cadastral and Land Registry platform, agency email, and other services, blocking both new property filings and requests already in progress because the workflow is all digital. The agency says it has multiple backup locations and that restoration will happen in stages as each component is checked and secured. Officials maintain the data they manage was not compromised, but the outage has left notaries unable to complete property transactions and citizens unable to obtain land registry records. If you have thoughts on the news from today or about our show in general, be sure to reach out to us. feedback@CISOseries.com. We always want to hear from you. I am Sarah Lane reporting for the CISO Series. Stay calm, cool, and collected out there.
Cybersecurity headlines are available every weekday. Head to CISOseries.com for the full stories behind the headlines.